This is Wheeze. We're going to talk about how to mix a live band today and just what all that entails. So, first off, you're going to need a mixing console, some microphones, some XLR cables, and a small PA or whatever you want to rock for the outputs. So, to start with, you need to figure out what you have for the band. So, if it's your band, you probably already know. You probably have a kick drum, a snare drum, a couple toms, a hi hat, and you may want a couple overheads for your cymbals. For vocals, 1 to 4 vocal mics. The SM58 is a tried and true microphone. You can never really go wrong with the SM58. And for the instruments, you got your guitars, which those you're most likely going to be using an SM57. That's the instrument version of the 58. So the difference between the instrument version and the vocal version is that there's an integrated pop filter and there's an outer screen to keep off debris and gunk. There's other microphones that you can use for instruments, but the 57 is an industry standard microphone. And as for the bass guitar, you usually want to take the output of the bass guitar and just put it directly into the PA. Because usually you're not doing much effects on it other than, say, like a phaser or whatever the bassist has on it. You'll see some crazy bassists out there. But what else we got? We got keys. Every band is not complete without a keyboardist, at least from the 60s and 70s. So keys is just a direct box. We call them DIs. So what it does is it takes the single-ended signal that comes out in quarter-inch format, and then it takes that and turns it into a balanced format over XLR that then we can send to our mixing console, which is 100 or 200 feet away. If we were to try to take that same single-ended signal and put it into our mixer, what would end up happening is that you would get interference on it like crazy. Guitarists run into this problem all the time because they use single-ended stuff, but with keys, it's so much more pronounced that we want to just take it from the keyboard to the direct box within like 5 or 10 feet. So that's pretty much it for miking a band. The saxophone player is gonna usually bring his own microphone because those require a special microphone. If you do need a mic one, take a 57 and if the horn is like this, you want to have the microphone angled out off to the side, but still within the horn cone. I don't have a good example for you right now, but the best way to do it is actually to take a lavalier mic pack, like a Shure series, and just clip the mic to the side of it, and that will give you the best results. That'll allow them to move around as much as they want. It'll avoid the hassle of varying pickup patterns, potentially wind. That's just the best way. And that really goes for any brass until you get up to the tubas. And in the tubas case, all you're just going to do is you're going to take a large diameter condenser and stick it right above it and just do that. And for the most part, if it's a brass section, you shouldn't need to mic it, but if you do, mic every instrument and put overheads above it too. The more microphones on stage, the better control you'll have over it. Although sometimes this can get overwhelming. That's why we want to label every channel. And it's good to have a baseline on what you know your channels are going to be. So what some people will do is they'll do kick, snare, hat as the first 3, and then they'll have tom, 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 and then they'll have overhead, overhead. That's your first 8 channels. That's your bay of drums. And then for your second bay, so let me explain what a bay is. Most mixing consoles are grouped into 8, so we want to keep our channel sections in 8 whenever we can. Obviously, there's going to be some drummers that have 15 toms and a million cymbals and double kick and double hi-hat. The insanity never stops with the drummers. But if we can keep it in that range of like, okay, after 5 or after wherever we're going to have drums, that's just a good method to stand by. And this just makes it so your show goes quick and efficiently. You know where everything is. As for doing your bass and your guitar and your keys, for the most part, these take up a single bay. You'll start with your guitars, and then you'll work backwards from your bass guitar to your keys to whatever weird instrument you have. And then you'll have your vocal bay, and that will be your vocals, your tracks, really whatever other vocal instruments you have. It's not uncommon to have 3 to 5 vocal mics for a band. I was gonna say novice band, but there are some very good bands that require way more than just 5. For instance, Paul's Dead, they require 5 vocal mics, and they're an excellent band. So they actually have 2 competing drummers. They play in unison most of the time, but then throughout the set they'll have various drum solos, and it's a fantastic experience. The only trouble with having 2 drummers is that you need to have those drummers in sync. That's a personal thing. That's not something that you're going to be able to control. And you want your drums to be in tune, obviously, but when you have them in tune with another drum kit that's different, that's a challenging thing. But that's drum tech land. We just yell at the drum techs for that. Oh, and please, please, please make sure your guitars are in tune before you start playing. If your guitars are out of tune, the whole band is going to be out of tune. And you say, oh, I tuned my guitar last night. Well, guess what? First of all, the weather's changed. You're in a different location. It could have been in the sun, or now is in the sun. So you got to make sure you tune your guitar before you go on stage. And that goes for the drums as well. The drums are, people will say you need to tune them every day. The shells change temperatures. You kind of do. It depends on how picky you are, but the more picky you are with the sound, the better, in my opinion. It's only going to lead to better sounds and better sights. Well, that's it for micing and taking care of your first stage patch. In the next video, we'll be talking about how to equalize all of that. Everyone's always going about the equalizers. But what about the compressors or the flangers or just the random shit you see in an app? I'll have a phone with the mixing station app with the X32 console so that we can see that. So I hope to catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.